In Puyuma culture, our men are split into groups of adults and groups of youth. Women, on the other hand, work in the millet fields from a young age, learning how to farm and learning life skills and millet culture. Before boys become adults, they have to pass through two stages. One of the stages is called miabudan, which is the laboring class. Before they enter the laboring class, from about 7 to 17 years old, they first experience a youth training period in the boys' house. Within the boys' house, they learn a lot of traditional knowledge, like traditional folk songs or traditional arts and craftsmanship, but they also serve a military function, going through Spartan-style training. The older boys were excellent trainers. If we couldn't sing, they could improvise a new song and teach us how to sing it. Underneath the Trakuban, there would be a space for wrestling. The younger boys would practice wrestling there. Trakuban are located at the outer edge of our villages. They also function as a watchtower. So, when we are training on the top, we are also observing what happens outside. We see everyone who comes into the village and everything going on. If any enemies come to invade, they can immediately report what they see from the raised structure or start their defense and attacks. In the past, when our youth were about 7 to 10 years old, in addition to training in the Trakuban, they also slept there. During the day, they train at the boys' house, and then they sleep there at night. We would only occasionally return to our own families to help out during busy agricultural seasons, or to help with other domestic labor. But most of the time, it was kind of like a modern military boarding school, where you live and learn, and then occasionally go home on break. We had so many friends, and everyone got along so well. We were so happy together. In the past, we had something called the Monkey Festival. Now, we call it the Youth Festival. To prepare for the festival, every year around the summer, we would start to catch some monkeys. We would set up monkey traps, and then once we caught them, we would take care of them. Next to our boys' house, there would be a cage for the monkeys to live in. You would see them every day, and there would be people responsible for protecting the monkey. After spending time with it every day, you would develop a certain degree of affection for it. But at the end of the year, during our youth festival, the monkey would be placed in a cage, and everyone would stab at the monkey with spears. We don't include that part anymore. Now we use a fake straw monkey instead, but our elders still remember that experience. For them, there was a profound emotional shock to it, because they had to face doing that to a monkey they had spent their days with for so long. It was a lesson that helped them learn a lot about life and made them reflect on the meaning of life. Puyuma people build with bamboo, particularly here in Trakuban. The main reason is that in the past, our old village was surrounded by thorny bamboo, as well as makino bamboo and long shoot bamboo. There were many different kinds of bamboo here. We live on the lowland plains, and before these plains were developed, this area was surrounded by many types of bamboo. Thorny bamboo has very thick sides, and it is quite tough, so it can be used as structural supports for buildings, and also provides supports as wall panels. But when it comes to harvesting the bamboo, our elders always say that if we are preparing materials for buildings, like the boys' house or for family homes, they emphasize that the harvesting of these materials has to happen during the winter. We wondered, why do we have to harvest in winter? So we asked some of our elders and conducted some scientific surveys and discovered during the summer, the bamboo has higher carbohydrate content and higher moisture content. So if you harvest the bamboo then, it is more likely to attract bamboo-eating bugs. We start building the Trakuban from the base, and after we finish building the whole structure with thorny bamboo, we begin to build the roof structure. We take thorny bamboo and beat it into flat sheets that have some gaps along the surface. We use that to create the roof surface, and then on top of the thorny bamboo, there is a final layer of white kogon grass thatch. If you lay the white kogon grass directly, it wouldn't be as even, and there might be lots of gaps. So water would get through it when it rained. That's why we use a flat surface of thorny bamboo in between the thorny bamboo structure and the thatch layer. It also becomes a load-bearing surface, and if any water does get through the thatch layer, it can flow downward along the flat bamboo surface. It serves as the roof board framework. For the walls, we can also use thorny bamboo beaten into a flat surface, or we can split the thorny bamboo into 4 quarters, and then layer and interconnect them to create the shape of the wall. These are the 2 ways we can make the outer walls of the Trakuban. The main reason for using white kugon grass is the same as with the bamboo. It's an easily harvested material. Every year, we make repairs or replace the thatch, so we have to make sure that we use a material that we can acquire easily nearby. White kugon grass has really long stalks, and the stalks are actually quite sharp. The stalks overlap and intertwine to the point that when rainwater falls on them, it flows down finely, layer by layer, allowing the water to flow quickly off of the roof, leaving the roof surface. If you use rice straw or other materials, there are more gaps between the stalks, and water would wind up pooling in the gaps. In the past, when we learned these traditional building techniques from our elders, we only used our traditional building materials. For example, we always used yellow rotang vines to fasten pieces together. Now, as times have changed, sometimes our elders will teach us using metal wires or even elastic cords to fasten pieces together. But metal wires and elastic cords are less effective than using traditional yellow rotang vines. That's because rotang vines are a natural medium. Before we use the rotang vines for fastening, we soak them in water. By soaking them in water, the rotang becomes more elastic, so we can pull it together. The bamboo also starts with a higher water content when we build, so when we fasten the bamboo pieces with rotang, after they are dried in the sun, and after some time passes, they tighten and contract together. As a result, it's less likely to loosen, so we hope we can continue to use yellow rotang vines. Whether you look at the longevity of a building, its preservation, or its structural integrity, it's really the wisdom of our ancestors that prevails. So we continue to use yellow rotang vines. Boys' houses are a kind of raised structure, and you can see that the structure includes many side braces to maintain structural balance. Those side braces in the roof create a triangle shape, so that the structural force moves downward, and the braces hold up and encircle the structure. But in strong winds or in an earthquake, the structure might still move a lot. So in the middle, we use an inverted triangle made of bamboo to create a kind of pouch that is tied together with yellow rotang vines. In the middle of that pouch, we place big rocks. That way, during an earthquake, the 2 forces are counterbalanced, and it is less likely to collapse. Even in the winds of a really strong typhoon, the Trakuban is unlikely to collapse. It holds the Trakuban steady. There is actually a technical term for this kind of structure. It's called a tuned mass damper, and there is even one in Taiwan's tallest building, Taipei 101. The principle behind it is very simple. There are 2 masses, one that hangs at the bottom and one on the top. When the main structure moves toward the right, the ball on the bottom moves to the left, which prevents the main structure from moving too much. The most important meaning of the Trakuban is that it provides spiritual education, education in cultural etiquette, and so much more. It teaches us to love others, so we hope that our young people, our young boys, can participate and receive this education. In particular, the older students need to understand the importance of listening to the stories of their elders and how they led the group when they were young. They need to absorb what the elders have learned and then put it into practice with new groups of youth. This is how Trakuban culture can be sustained and continue into the future, developing a spiritual culture among the youth. These boys aspire not only to learn etiquette, but also to be educated in combat skills, to learn about courage, insight, and valor. It also teaches us so much about how to work with others. It gives us an excellent direction. So, I hope that the youth in our community can all have the courage to participate in this 6 years of education in life skills. That is my wish.
Ya la